Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is the beginning of 2022 here, January 3rd, 2022. And we're going to get right back to it and start looking at what the market is giving us this morning. Just want to quickly review kind of the last few weeks, and I'll get some of these lines off of here. In fact, we'll just ignore them for now. So going into the week of Christmas, and I warned everybody about this. I told you that typically the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's, we see a Santa Claus rally, and it's just kind of a seasonal thing. And most of the time, that's what you see. Sometimes it doesn't follow that pattern. But just to show you, this is the low from Monday morning, that week of before Christmas Eve there. So Monday morning lows down here at 45.19, 45.20. And as you can see, going into Tuesday, into Wednesday, into Thursday, into Friday, and then here on Monday of the week of New Year's Eve, a nice strong push. And then after that, as you can see, we'll zoom in here and take a look. The market just petered out and was sideways the whole rest of the week there, and then we kind of got a little bit of a sell-off down to the lower part of that range, and then petered out here. So this is what's bringing us here into this morning, and we're still basically stuck inside of this area up here. And if we zoom out and we look at this from a larger picture, you can see that they're just kind of consolidating a little bit here, getting ready for the next move, right? So the question is the market going to pull back from the highs they made here on the week of Christmas and New Year's? Are they going to pull back from those highs for a deeper support for a larger bounce to higher highs? Or are they just going to continue to chug right out of this area? Or are we just going to start to get some type of extreme sell-off? That's kind of the three different scenarios I'm looking at here. And there's some key levels that we need to kind of get through before we get a clearer picture. So let's just jump up to the ultra high time frames, do kind of our dial down, and then we'll start looking to see what levels do we want to kind of focus on this morning. So the yearly chart, I told you we wanted to look at this when we got to 2022 here. And just kind of interesting to note that, the ranges in the S&P have been around 200 to maybe 300 points for a long time. And then you can see as we get into just about Trump's presidency here, we start getting these gigantic bars here, and it just seems to get more and more exaggerated with each new year here. Now, I think 2020 was a little bit of an outlier because we did have the COVID correction. So as you can see, coming out of 2019, we were already up here around 31, 3,200. And then, it was towards the end, end of February into March, the whole thing just tanked because of the whole global situation, right? So that was maybe a little bit of an outlier. But look at 2021 here, despite kind of the disaster of a situation that we have globally with everything going on with COVID and supply chains and all that kind of stuff. Even though that was the case, we just continue to push and push and push for another 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 points, something like that, just about 1,200 points higher. And so here we are, the beginning of 2022. Just kind of interesting to see here. Do we just continue to do what we've done for the last 3 or 4 years? Just push, 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 push. That would bring us all the way up into 6,000 and even higher. So just, we're right here at the beginning. So we'll see pulling back even all the way back to 4,200, which is 500, 600, 700 points below. Still, we're in bullish territory just looking at what we're seeing here. So and also from, there are no divergences. I don't have enough data. Unfortunately, NinjaTrader only has from 2009 onward. So we have 12, maybe 13 years worth of data. I could bring up a different platform and we could look all the way back to, 1998. But, I don't have that. So going to our 3-month chart here, we're still holding 50% of that previous 3-month bar there. So, and we broke the high of that previous bar. So looking really, really strong from really the highest time frame we really kind of keep wraps on throughout the year here. And the RVI not showing any type of sign of exhaustion, no argument from previous highs. Everything just looks very strong. So market's still looking strong from the higher time frames. Our monthly as well, if we look at this, we've been talking about this bullish divergence off the December lows for a while now. And I said that if we do hold the low here and we can push up and get through this previous high of this previous candle, we now have a nice bullish engulfing candle on the monthly, which is again another strong bullish omen for what's to come here. Again, keep in mind anything's possible, but that is a strong bullish omen right there. And the bearish divergence that we developed from the November highs got its pullback, right? We pulled back from 4740 to 4500 for a bit, a little over a 200 point pullback. So back in November, as we were watching this, there was the opportunity to somehow jump in and get some of that move down lower, but now you can see the bulls have jumped right back in here. So got a brand new monthly candle. We'll watch this. I don't think we're going to spend too much time on the higher time frames here every single morning like I typically do. We're probably just going to spend, like at the beginning of the week, we'll look at how the monthly is developing, how the weekly is developing, and then we won't spend as much time up here. So I'm spending a little bit more time, especially because we haven't been with each other for a little over a week, or just about a week, and so it's worth it, especially at the beginning of the year. Now, let me go back to this monthly. So this huge wick to the upside and this close very bearish looking with that bearish divergence, it's all over with, right? They jumped right through it. And then on the weekly, we had the same agreement, right? So the weekly had the bearish signals from the highs. We got the 240 point pullback. Then we got an agreement with that monthly signal when we pulled back to the December lows. So back at the beginning of December, we were talking about the potential bullish divergence on the weekly and the potential bullish divergence on the monthly. So, going into, was that December 5th, it was already pretty clear from these higher time frames. We had the clues that the market could potentially push and break the all-time highs that we had at that time, right? So there you go. And then we did get a little bit of a bearish clue here back a few weeks earlier, in the middle of December there, which did lead to a little bit of a pullback of 200 points. But then they pulled back, the bulls jumped right back in, and then this is this bar that we highlighted back, I believe, just before Christmas, because I was there for those 3 or 4 days. So we were here for those first 4 days and we were watching this. But that was a little bit of a bullish clue. And then you can see we got the follow through that following week. And now here we are right up at the all-time highs at the moment. And there is another potential bearish divergence from the high. Now you guys know the pattern. I've mentioned it a lot throughout the year. Even the higher time frames, when they get the bearish signal, it's typically going to get some type of retracement, like we see 200 point pullback there, 250 point pullback here, but then the bulls jump in. So even though we see it right now, it could turn into something larger, but typically the bulls are going to jump in, right? So let's get down to our daily now, and daily essentially agreed with everything else that we were seeing. Remember the December low back at the beginning of December was off of 50% of this whole leg and right above that previous swing high back here that we talked about. So they held that, and we had those bullish signals, got the follow through to a new all-time high, and then just before the Santa Claus rally, we got this correction, and then again that push up. And there was a bullish divergence right here. I don't know why it's not marked. We do have that push lower, and then this RVI. I guess I didn't mark it because the RVI did technically come down a tick, so take that back. But got that really nice reversal bar, or at least a look to it back at that time, and the follow through. So where we are right now, we're right up at the consolidation point. We do have a bullish divergence from I believe that's Friday's low from New Year's Eve. So we'll see if that gets some follow through here this morning. And we'll see if the shorter time frames start to give us any kind of clearer picture here. So we did get a bullish divergence on the pullback on the 4-hour as well. So we have our high time frames giving a decent bullish signal from the previous daily low. That's going to be kind of our first line in the sand this morning. So we're going to watch that. Outside of that, the 4-hour really not saying too much else outside of the picture that we've already kind of made. On the pullbacks, I marked some levels here that make sense for support in the market, or at least some type of reaction, right? So pulling back from the all-time highs into, and I'll go ahead and highlight this little area of structure right here, and also the previous highs from back on December 12th there, all lining up right in this area. Definitely a lot of choppiness right in that. So pulling back, in my opinion, would make sense. Right here we have this really strong push out. So it makes sense there might be some reaction there. And then the 38 would bring us right into this next area where we found some support and a push out. And then the 61 brings us right down into that next area where we found that really nice strong support and push out. So these are some areas below us that we want to watch. A little bit deeper could bring us right into this previous resistance at 46.02, 46.03 here. And then maybe even right into 45.71. So that's if we have some type of major sell-off. Right now, because we do have the daily and the 4-hour showing a bullish signal from the previous daily low, we're going to see what happens here, right? So if this does hold, then more than likely we're going to at least test the all-time high, if not try to push higher. And let's go down to the hourly here. I have this line marked on our shorter time frames here. Again, that area where we pulled back, got a really strong push out of. And if you look back in time, if we go all the way back over here and we follow that line across, you can see that that's exactly where the market found some support throughout that area on December 12th. And we could go even further back to these areas here, and you can see that it's always kind of carried through as being a level of resistance or support, or an area where there's some hiccups in the market. So that right there looks interesting to me. And then we've already talked about the other retracements here. The 60-minute does have agreement on the bullish stuff from the lows of the Friday. So we'll see again if they can hold above that area. We'll look for some longs. And then let's go down to our intermediate time frames here. So go to the 30, just kind of see. Like I said, I have all these levels that we just talked about on that 60-minute chart kind of down here. So we have this, what is this one here? 47.42 with maybe a little bit of a range in front of it. We have this area around 47.29 with the CP right over in there. Again, going back to this area in the market where we found a pullback and then a really strong push out, and then that previous resistance back here. So we've got that level, and then a little bit deeper into the area where we actually bounced out of, and that's where I said I had that dotted line. So you can see it, we have it on this 30-minute and our 10-minute to just alert us if the market does come down into those areas. And so I've got all that kind of already on here to alert us this morning for the pullback if it occurs. And then the 10-minute, you can see I also have it marked over here as well. It's a little messy up here on the 10, but we are getting a little bit of support, so we'll see if we continue to hold here for the push. I'm going to look for a long, looking for a push to test the all-time high, and if that doesn't happen, then we'll just have to, reevaluate. But for now, that's what we're looking at. Looking for a pullback to get long. We have our levels below us on the chart here, staying above 64.50. Really important for the bulls. However, we've already kind of established that holding the previous daily low is the most important thing for the bulls to do this morning. Again, anything's possible, right? So we're just kind of adapting to whatever happens in the market with new information. Right now, they could break right through that previous daily low and have a little journey down into some of these deeper levels. And if that starts to happen, rather than just waiting for a 10, 20, 30 point correction, it might make sense to find a short off the back end of one of these other levels for that deeper push. And then once we finally get some support, we can then go ahead and flip our hats. So that's what we're looking at this morning. We are just we don't have the clearest picture in my opinion, because pretty much every time frame showing bearish from the highs. And we have the higher time frames along with our intermediates also showing a nice bullish signal from the previous daily low. So we have our conditions getting through this previous daily, or I'm sorry, all-time high, and getting up through that. Great opportunity to get in long. And then again, if they start to really sell off here, you might want to find a short into one of these deeper areas of potential support. So that's where I'll leave it for anyone watching out on YouTube, and we're going to jump down to our short time frames here, see if we can't start getting some trades into the open here. So have a great rest of your day.